Hi, I'm Ashton Brooks, the 2024 AIA Austin Women in Architecture Committee Chair. We are in year 4 of our profile video series. We have been honored to feature many women here in Austin who have made impacts not only on our built environment, but within our community as well. While this series started as a way to shed light on a few talented ladies, it has progressed and evolved into a library of concrete evidence of the female impact within the architecture and construction industry. We are proud that the inspiration that has been shared not only has occurred here in Austin, but has gone beyond our city limits, beyond our state lines, and across the country. Thank you for watching.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Chavez, Project Manager for Restructure Studio and this year's Women in Architecture Chair-elect, and the Subcommittee Chair for the Profiles Video Interview Series. The Profiles Video Interview Series has become an important platform for women in the Austin architecture community to share their stories, talk about their work, and provide inspiration since it was launched in late 2020. This year, we'll continue the focus on the topic of inspiration, in which we ask each interviewee in what ways they inspire or support other women in the profession, and what advice they give to their younger selves as an emerging professional, among many other questions. Please enjoy the compilation videos for all the conversations we recorded this year.
I think undoubtedly I wouldn't be where I am in my career without the community of friends and builders, architects around me that have kind of set the path forward and allowed me to dialogue with them in times of business development or changes. Going to school at University of Texas was really beneficial for me because I was already rooted in a community where I knew other architects, but certainly the AIA has played a big part in that for me. I had a wonderful experience being the co-chair of the Women in Architecture Committee a few years ago, and just building relationships that have really helped me develop personally and professionally.
Consultation and dialogue are so important. I think otherwise you end up that you're designing kind of in a vacuum, right? There's things that people bring to the process, and there are things that people might say that provide a different outlook that you as a designer might not have ever considered, right? And it's important to have those perspectives. And I think when everybody's working together, whether that's stakeholders or community members or design team members, we work with a lot of people. It takes a lot of people to make a project happen.
Well, community is kind of everything. It's the greatest reward for what we do is seeing people use it, in my opinion. And so working with the people that we serve, getting to know them, getting to understand them is just a huge part of what's satisfying at the end of every day.
There really is this epidemic of feeling lonely. And I think community engagement is the way to remind ourselves that ultimately our differences aren't that big. We all kind of want the same things. We all want our families to be safe. We all want spaces that help enhance our lives. And when people start coming together and talking, that's where I think you start realizing that we have so much more in common than we do that are differences.
Community engagement for me is everything. It's why I do this job. The social responsibility and impact we have as a profession, engineers, architects, construction, we're shaping everything in the community. So whether it's our Austin community or the community I have here at work every day, I feel really appreciative to be embedded and really committed to listening. It's very important, it fuels me. And I think when we are listening to all the voices, making a really diligent effort to hear everybody, only then can we figure out what to do with that and how to fix things or make processes better or do what's right.
I think it's very important to work with the community. I'm teaching at the University of Texas School of Architecture this fall, and I make it a point to work with community organizations, and I place that in our project briefs for the studio. In fact, this fall we'll be working with the City of Austin, cultural arts center for a new fashion school.
Yeah, I think at this stage in my career, I'm really starting to think a lot about business development and understanding, different ways of working. I think for me, I've always been very inspired by Moontower's CEO, my boss, Frank Farkash. And I think he is kind of the perfect combination for a leader. He's kind, he has a lot of integrity. He's also just an all-star architect and designer. And he is great at facilitating decision-making and managing his team without micromanaging them.
And we're fortunate that we have so many people in our community who are so creative and talented and so involved in the community and so giving of their time and so excited and determined to make our community a better place. There's so many people that I'm fortunate to have worked with during my career here, really giving me great insights, really helped me develop my career. People I work with at my firm that I see every day, especially the women in my firm. I work for a women-owned firm that has a lot of women that I work with who are architects, and I'm very inspired by them and their paths and their efforts and contributions to the community as well as to my own career.
I find Casa Marianella just an absolutely inspirational group. They're a nonprofit here in Austin that helps serve immigrants who have recently arrived with no other resources and give them a place to live for 3 to 6 months and help them with services to connect them to jobs, get their kids in school, get their paperwork in order before they then move on to finding more permanent or kind of long-term rental housing, often with other people that they've met through Casa. So the people that run that and their team, Patty McCabe, Jennifer Long, and all of those folks are just incredible because they really live this service every day to a group of people that desperately need it. And we've been fortunate to be brought in and are working with them on a new project that has helped us get to understand them more and see this bringing together of cultures in Austin that sometimes is hard to find in the world that we live in, this very sort of white-collar profession. Austin's not the most diverse place, and it can be easy to get focused on a more narrow group of people looking at development and market-driven work here in town. So to be working with Casa and see firsthand all the different cultures and histories and experiences coming into Austin from Africa, from throughout the Americas, having had these hard journeys, is just an incredible group to understand and to have a sense that we can help tie that into a way of living in a healthy way in Austin. Resonates a lot with me and with the work that we're trying to do at the Design Office.
There's a couple groups that I think are fantastic. I love everything we do at AIA, especially with the Women in Architecture. I think has done an amazing job of showcasing not only how to build connection, but how to build cross connections, which I think is absolutely valuable. And so I kind of feel like that's so important, where people not only do well in their own space, but they look to sort of see how they could help others. So that would probably be my answer if I have to choose one.
I admire all the women that have gone before me. They did not have an easy journey, many of them, and there's no way we would be where we were if people weren't diligently working to enable us to have the opportunity as women in this profession to do what we do now. When we started the inaugural committee in 2018, that was really a formalization of what had been happening for many decades before. And the women in this community that have been doing that, just one step in front of the other for years, they're who I have to thank, because they show what's possible. They're a reflection of what can happen. And when I was starting my career, I didn't see a lot of women in leadership. I didn't even see very many women in architecture, and that's changed so much. But in Austin, certainly that's a huge influence for me, and I'm very grateful for the women in this profession who have come before and have held the door open and really advocated for so many that follow. I really appreciate that.
My daughter and I actually volunteer a lot together. I think it's important to instill that value with my daughter. One of our favorites right now is Tree Folks. Tree Folks works with the City of Austin to increase the tree canopy across the city. So what we do is we give away free trees. We get our hands dirty, and it's a lot of fun. And it's enriching to see that smile on someone's face as they receive a free tree that they're going to plant that day. But beyond that, I think I'm also a huge fan of Big Medium. I love that they put on that art show every spring and fall, and that they really truly have an outreach program with the community and open their doors. I think our industry can really learn from that.
In the world of residential architecture, we work a lot, specifically at Moontower, we work a lot on remodel addition projects. And there's this critical point when you're assessing a structure, when you're trying to decide if you're doing a really comprehensive project, is it a remodel, is it new construction? And there was one particular instance where we went all the way down the road designing as a remodel addition, only to realize to really get the building performance that we were after, it needed to be new construction. And so we ended up finding a really unique solution in that we built back an old bungalow just as it looked before, so you can't really tell from the front that it was any different. But we were able to do it in a way where it had like a much better kind of building envelope and new construction. It's entirely new construction.
One of the things that our practice tries to do is to try to be very considerate about expecting the unexpected, which is really hard to do in architecture, especially when you're working with existing buildings, right? But we try to think through what are all the possible scenarios where something could go wrong, and so we try to head off that as much as possible and be very thorough. Sometimes things do happen. An example I can think of recently is, we were doing demolition of a portion of an existing structure, and when they took off the interior part of the walls, they discovered a lot of mold in the existing building, and so that required a big change to the exterior of the building. The only way to get rid of that was to take off the outside of the building as well. So, but that's the nature of working with existing buildings, is that you don't know what you're going to find sometimes, and that was a good opportunity actually to improve the existing exterior of the building by, we had a chance then to do a new air barrier, new insulation, improve the waterproofing and the outside envelope. So it ended up being an opportunity rather than a loss, I guess.
I think of my first project with Lake Plato Architects, which is Indian Spring School in Birmingham, Alabama. They have a beautiful campus for 8th through 12th graders, and a lot of the buildings are 50 years old or more, and so we're out of date in terms of daylight and air quality and things that we know contribute to good learning now. So we were trying to stitch new buildings in with some of the older ones that could be preserved, and had gotten pretty far down a vision plan when we realized that a bunch of the new buildings were in the floodplain. There was a new FEMA floodplain that had not been identified early on, and we had to work with the board, with our client, as a team, to sort of maneuver a new way of thinking about that. And for me as a young architect, I was so terrified that this was going to be, like the death knell for the project or something. But it actually ended up a better master plan, a better vision plan.
Imagine a lot of people look back at 2020, which rocked our world, but we had a pretty significant healthcare project on an island in the Pacific, and it was in mid-construction. And the pandemic forces were certainly at play, and a hurricane was barreling through the Pacific, and we had to do a host of things to keep the project on schedule. There were obviously supply chain challenges, there were huge weather impacts, there were labor shortages and issues, and we ended up not being able to travel there for a time. And so using technology was important. We had to have eyes and ears there and not be there. So that was really fortunate. And we got very creative with alternative materials and selections. And then most importantly, we had a really fantastic relationship with our contractor partner. And thank goodness we did, because that was everything. Every time we had to pivot or make a quick decision or be agile and flexible. We had so much trust in each other that we could move and be swift in our decision making. So that project really stands out as one where every day you knew there was going to be some hurdle, and every time you answered the phone there would be some quick decision making to take place. But it finished on time. It was on schedule, on budget. I'm really proud of that.
When I was at Forgecraft, we had a wonderful client walk through the door, and she knew exactly what she wanted in her private residence. And this house was amazing. It had a library. It had a almost museum quality gallery. It was big, it was beautiful. It was one of my favorite projects that I loved working on there. Of course, there was budget issues. And so once we got it priced by the contractor, we felt like we had to kind of squeeze the fat out of it, right? We had to edit it and do it in a way where we weren't diluting the architecture, but the experience was still a beautiful experience for her. I think we were successful, but unfortunately, it didn't get built. The project didn't get built. I'm hoping someday she will come to Erica Quinones Architecture and knock on my door, and we can continue that journey together.
One of my very favorite projects is one that I worked at another firm, which is being part of the design team for The Independent. And that was one of the first times that I think I really showcased what it meant to build a relationship and how that can help lead to something amazing. And that project was, for a while at least, the tallest building in Austin. It was the tallest building that the firm had ever done. It got us a lot of national recognition. And it all kind of started from another female friend of mine who kind of gave me a nudge to call this architect and reintroduce myself and gain that connection. So I think for me that was a game changer, because it sort of shifted from how we traditionally had gone after work. And was also a really good reminder that sometimes people who are dismissed, like other female friends, are the ones who can help make really great connections.